Hello everyone, my name is Ego and welcome to this miraculous channel known as Eat Ego and Super Ego. Anybody who may be watching this, probably like 3 people, let's be real, may wonder what the hell is the entire focus of this channel. Well, we honestly have no clue. Really, we just come up with a random topic, like 20 minutes before recording, practice a little, then we just say whatever comes to mind in the most polite and informative way possible. On that note, I was brushing my teeth at 12 p.m., looking at my hollow eyes and feeling the strain of a pointless existence that is doomed to constant pain, when I suddenly thought that it would be cool to talk about one of my favorite hobbies, D&D, otherwise known as Dungeons & Dragons. Is a tabletop role-playing game, and what does that mean, voices in my head, you ask? God, I need to sleep. Okay, anyway. Good question, voices. It is a game that you play with 2 or more friends where you create a character, roll a set of die, and depending on the number your little character gets, you get to do some pretty nice stuffs. These games work around someone known as the Game Master or a GM who is in charge of creating an adventure that the players with their characters must overcome. So really, the Game Master, although a god within this metaphorical world he has created, they are still incapable of preventing their players from doing some uber dumb shit. I'm sorry for using that word. Like flirting with a dragon, stealing a holy chalice in front of an army of insane religious zealots, seducing the daughter of a known warlord, seducing the warlord right before he impales him with an axe, being forced to describe the disturbing romantic relationship that you do not feel comfortable describing to the sniveling mass of freaks which your long-term friends have become. But it's all okay, because it's all done in good fun. Cries inside. Yeah, I'm that little pathetic. So I decided to quickly detail one of my first D&D sessions ever, and the absolute clusterfuck that happened at the end. So, I was playing Warlock by the name of Max something else, I can't remember what it was. A warlock is someone who has made a pact with a powerful entity, whether belonging to the Fae, essentially a bunch of pompous fairies who like to play tricks on the puny humans, eldritch beings, pretty much horrifying monsters of staggering intelligence and unknown purpose that come from beyond our universe, most likely to kill us all. If you want a better explanation, please just read any book from H.P. Lovecraft, and if you feel like crying due to the impotence of humanity, then that means you understood it. And it really puts into humanity into perspective. And finally, demons, which, are pretty self-explanatory if you've ever heard of Christianity. So I was a dude who became a servant of this eldritch being known as an Enra, a being who controls the mist, or like the Lady of the Mist, something around those lines, I can't remember. A pact that I received from my grandfather, who was a complete dick, but gave me this responsibility as both a blessing and a curse. Which, really, I couldn't ask for more, being his 16th favorite grandchild. Yeah, I don't know why I thought that would be the 16th. Wow, there's a lot of things that I wonder why my 10th grade mind came up with. Okay, anyway. I met up with this depressed half-elf druid, pretty much a dude who connects with nature and can make plants and animals do stuff, and a monk who just beats the ever-living crap out of anyone he hates. So eventually some shit goes down, and after killing a teleporting spider, torturing a guy, getting our collective asses whooped by one guy, and discovering that I could flip people off and fire a beam of unknown energy that could melt them apart, we somehow came to the court of the queen, monarch of the kingdom we were in, who, in spite of us being a bunch of half-drunk, bloodied nobodies with pretty much no combat experience, she entrusted us the responsibility of finding her kidnapped son, the prince of the kingdom, instead of using her bloody army. And to make things worse, she didn't even give us any weapons or resources. Just a bunch of crappy horses. Eventually, we were joined by a paladin who wanted to start a crusade to impose the all-powerful words inside of the Holy Bible as the one true word. Yeah, you heard me right. Bible, not Bible. So that we won't get copyright infringed. This is where shit begins to go down. We were given the choice of going to what was pretty much a mountainous wasteland full of angry, ugly, and evil dwarves, or go to a gladiator, seaward city full of luxuries, flowers, and mostly beautiful elves. Unfortunately, my friends chose the dumb option to go to the mountain regions, and I, unfortunately, was one of the few who voted in favor of going to the gladiator place. Since apparently they were interested in the honor and glory that we would have were received in a beautiful, like, coliseum, hearing the roaring of the crowds, getting, like, flowers and treasures and stuff like that. Yeah, they're that level of weirdos. Okay, so we go to a seemingly abandoned castle. We pretty much fall face first into a 30-meter wide chasm, and we find a big, ugly giant. He thought we were trying to steal his gold, which really, he wasn't wrong. We were planning to loot whatever we could find in there, so, I mean, were we the good guys? Probably not. So, as the great heralds of the Queen in our mission to take back the kidnapped prince from an evil cult, we brutally killed him by throwing a psychopathic dog at the speed of sound to his chest, causing his guts to explode everywhere. Now, unbeknownst to us, this giant had a deal with these big, mountain-dwelling beings known as Goliaths. They were 6 feet tall, athletic, and extremely peaceful. All around, good dudes. Something that our party had no clue at the time. And this giant would protect the tribes in exchange for food. So finding his corpse there, the Goliaths thought that the dwarves had killed him, and in the span of a few hours, we unknowingly started a race war between Goliaths and dwarves. After going to a dwarf city where everybody was fucking evil, hell, one dude was so prideful that he tried to beat up our paladin who tried to heal him for free, due to the dude having pretty much lost his arm due to a boulder having crushed him the night before. This same asshole offered us 10 gold coins per Goliath head we would bring him, which was a pretty sweet deal because all of our party members had lost their money previously in bar fights, with the exception of myself, but I was greedy as hell, and I would rather let them all die of frostbite than use 1 gold coin to let them sleep inside an inn. Oh my god, I was a horrible human being. Meh, that won't stain my conscience. Okay, so we went on a hunt for Goliaths, and eventually we found an estranged encampment belonging to 50, 70 Goliaths around there, who, upon seeing us, were extremely suspicious. It turned out that they were actually very nice people, who wanted to tend to their herds and were being brutally assaulted by dwarves for years before, and that this lazy dwarf was using us to satisfy his sadistic hatred. I said before that this was one of my first times playing D&D, meaning that I had no idea what the hell I was doing with my character, and only at that point I noticed that I had the ability for limited telepathy, meaning I could talk to another being with my mind, but they couldn't send messages back. And I told my fellow party members as a joke, outside of the game, imagine if I go up to someone and say, "This is the voice of God, you will repent." I still remember the sick and perverse smile that grew upon my GM's face that day. He made it a reality. He wouldn't let go of it. So, he made it so their leader became enraged at us and considered it an act of aggression, me pretending to be God. Next thing we knew, we had like 50 armed Goliaths coming at us in a murderous rage, and we were trying to run, but we didn't know if we were going to be able to reach our horses before they caught up to us. Oh well, at least I didn't know. Everybody else knew that they could easily run away, but I repeat, dumb. So, me being an idiot, oh my god, this text that I wrote in at 12 a.m. has so many curse words. I'm sorry. I chose to rely on the help of my GM. I asked him what spell should I use, and he said, use the Hunger of Hadar. Me, being a fool, did as he told me. I cast that spell, which opens a portal to hell to Hadar, an eldritch being who can be described as a seizing mass of darkness, teeth, eyes, and tentacles, whose sole purpose is to consume everything around him. Thus began the horror. In front of us, the Goliaths were frozen and confused. The tendrils carried a mist that made it so nobody, not even my party members, could see what was happening, except for me. I could see everything in perfect detail. The tentacles grabbed each and every Goliath, and they would begin to slowly disembowel them. I saw many of them, shock appearing in their eyes, as tendrils began to open their jaws to the point that they completely dislocated from their skulls. How their arms were being ripped out of their sockets, their balls were pierced, their contents thrown in a myriad of red and pink into the ground. The most terrifying aspect is that for some unknown reason, to me, even to this day, is that there was no screaming. I could only hear breathed sounds of confusion and see the terror in their eyes, as they were all horrifyingly butchered. It seems to me that although Hadar did not eat their bodies, he may have been gnawing at their souls, taking their ability to scream with him. And then, after 5 minutes, the mist dissipated, The breach closed in it itself. The tendrils were gone, leaving a disgusting melting pot of butchered limbs and bowels. All 50 of them were dead. My character began to hyperventilate, but the worst was for not over. From the distance, in a small, hurriedly built shack, the door opened and 3 children ran out. They saw what remained of their parents, and tears in their eyes, they ran to me and beat me with their fists, calling me a monster, wishing a gruesome death. I was speechless. The monk in my party chose to knock out all the children and left them back in the shack. I wrote a quick note saying, "I'm sorry." Then looking at the one-sided battlefield I had caused, I fell to my knees. They were too weak to hold me, and I cried. The GM ended the session, and the campaign, for that matter, with the following. Choosing the path of the warlock is one that is filled with a bloody price. So, that was one of the first times I played D&D. I'm sorry if it was too shocking for some people, but I believe that it is best to be as honest as possible when it comes to describing real life stories. Although it had a dark ending, there were a lot of positives. Laughing at my fellow players, stupidity when choosing to try to seduce an angel, twice, meeting new people and giving them nicknames that they would hate, and seeing magic manifest around my own will. These are all the reasons that make D&D a wonderful game that I truly recommend people to try out. And I would like to reiterate that even though this story is very somber, keep in mind that this is one of the many that I have had. I have had much more that have ended in a much more positive light, where, I don't know, like, somehow our party members go and save the story, or, I don't know, one of my favorite ones was that I somehow slipped on a pebble, hit my head, passed out, then, like, my party members went and saved the kingdom, destroyed an evil army of undead, and were raised as heroes. Meanwhile, I just kind of, like, slept through it, and I still got the glory, so it was great. Well, I will try to share as many possible, like, stories in the future. Many of them will be much more positive than this one. I just thought that would be, cool. Please leave a comment if you enjoyed it, or if you did not. We can use all your feedback. This is Ego, and I am signing out.